This is 101 Amazing Facts About the Titanic, written by Jack Goldstein and Frankie Taylor, and narrated by me, Kent Harris. Introduction. Do you know how many miles beneath the surface of the waves the wreck of the Titanic lies? What do scientists and historians now believe led to the iceberg only being seen at the last minute? The flares that were sent up by the crew were supposed to signal distress, but what did they actually say? I'll shortly be answering all of these questions and more as we discover over 100 amazing facts about the Titanic. So keep listening if you want to find out all about the luxury ocean liner that tragically sank on her maiden voyage to America. If you're ready, let's begin. Chapter 1. General Facts, Part 1. Number 1. The RMS Titanic was a passenger liner belonging to the White Star Line that sank in the Atlantic Ocean after colliding with an iceberg. Number 2. More than 1,500 of the 3,327 passengers and crew aboard died in the tragedy. Number 3. The Titanic, along with her sister ship, the Olympic, was designed to compete with the Lusitania and Mauretania, the two most famous ships of White Star's rival, Cunard. Number 4. She set sail on her maiden voyage from Southampton on April 10, 1912. After stopping at Cherbourg in France and Queenstown in Ireland, she headed west for New York. Number 5. The ship collided with an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. on April 14th. Number 6. At 2:20 a.m. on April 15th, ship's time, she slipped under the waves forever, 400 miles off the coast of Newfoundland. Number 7. At 4:10 a.m., a ship called the Carpathia made it to the scene of devastation to rescue any survivors. Number 8. The captain of the ship, Edward J. Smith, had decided he was to retire after helming her maiden voyage. Number 9. In the first week after the ship sinking, the New York Times devoted 75 pages of coverage to the story. Number 10. The RMS in RMS Titanic stands for both Royal Mail Steamer and Royal Merchant Ship. Chapter 2. Facts and Figures, Part 1. Number 11. The Titanic cost $7.5 million to build. That's around $176 million in today's money. Number 12. It took over 15,000 men to build the ship. Number 13. Her top speed was 23 knots. That's around 26 miles per hour. Number 14. The most expensive tickets on the ship cost $4,350. That's equivalent to around $80,000 in 2014. Number 15. The Titanic was stocked with 20,000 bottles of beer, 1,500 bottles of wine, 850 bottles of spirits, and 8,000 cigars. Number 16. Just 25% of the third-class passengers survived, compared to 42% of second class and 60% of first class. Number 17. The Titanic was 269 meters long and 53 meters high at its tallest point. Number 18. The ship carried 892 crew to service its 2,435 passengers. Number 19. She displaced 52,310 tons. Number 20. The ship only carried 20 lifeboats, which could at maximum carrying capacity still only hold around 1,178 people. Chapter 3. Safety and construction. Number 21. Originally, the design for the ship specified 64 lifeboats. However, she only carried 20 on her maiden voyage. Number 22. On the day the Titanic hit the iceberg which sunk her, a lifeboat drill for all passengers and crew were due to take place. For an unknown reason, however, the captain canceled it. Had the drill taken place, it is thought many more lives could have been saved. Number 23. One of the reasons many lifeboats were nowhere near to carrying their full capacities was that many people were unsure of their operation. Some thought they should only be boarded when in the water, and therefore they were lowered before being full. For example, the very first had a capacity of 65, but only carried 28 people away from the sinking ship. Number 24. Tragically, according to some first-hand reports, gates which separated the third-class passengers from the other classes were kept locked, even after the ship had hit the iceberg. Number 25. Construction of the Titanic began in 1909 and took just 2 years to complete. Number 26. The naval architect of the ship was Thomas Andrews. He was aboard the ship on her fateful voyage and was lost to the ocean. Number 27. Cats were often carried aboard ships as they control rodents and were thought of by sailors as bringing good luck. There were no cats aboard the Titanic. Number 28. Not only this, but a bottle of champagne was not broken on the bow of the boat as was general custom. Number 29. In 1911, Shipbuilder magazine published an article detailing the ship's construction, stating that when the watertight doors were closed, the Titanic would be practically unsinkable. Number 30. Before her maiden voyage, a test was performed to determine the Titanic's stopping distance. She was accelerated to 20 knots, then the engines were reversed at full power. It took half a mile for her to come to a halt. Chapter 4. Did you know? Number 31. When she was launched, the Titanic was the largest man-made object ever constructed on the whole planet. Number 32. One of the most famous fashion designers of the age, Lady Duff Gordon, was accused of attempting to bribe the crew to row away when there were only 12 people in her lifeboat. She was, however, cleared of the charges. Number 33. There were 12 dogs aboard the ship, 3 of which survived, 2 Pomeranians and a Pekingese. Number 34. Ida Strauss, the wife of Macy's department store owner Isidore, reportedly had 1 foot in a lifeboat when she decided to turn back and die with her husband on the ship. Number 35. Only 1 black passenger was reported to be aboard the ship, a Haitian engineer by the name of Joseph Laroche. As with many of his fellow passengers, he sadly did not survive the accident. Number 36. 2 people, Second Officer Charles Lightoller and a passenger called Jack Thayer, both wrote books which detailed how they survived the tragedy. Number 37. On the 100th anniversary of the event, Robin Gibb performed the debut of his symphonic work, The Titanic Requiem, which commemorated the ship, the passengers, and her crew. Number 38. In 2012, a first-class lunch menu from the Titanic sold for £76,000. Number 39. The wreck of the Titanic is currently resting on the seabed over 2 miles beneath the surface. Number 40. Before setting sail, Captain Smith had this to say: When anyone asks me how I can best describe my experience in nearly 40 years at sea, I merely say uneventful. Of course, there have been winter gales and storms and fog and the like, but in all my experience, I have never been in any accident or any sort worth speaking about. I have seen but one vessel in distress in all my years at sea. I never saw a wreck and never have been wrecked, nor was I ever in any predicament that threatened to end in disaster of any sort. Chapter 5. The Tragedy. Number 41. When the iceberg was spotted, the captain did everything he could to turn the ship around. However, it was too late and the hull was breached. Scraping down the side of the ship, 6 of the watertight compartments were wrenched open, and from then she stood no chance. If only 4 had been opened, the Titanic would not have sunk. Number 42. Amazingly, modern theory also suggests that due to the ship's strong bulkheads, had she hit the iceberg head-on, as she was due to on her original heading, it is thought she would have stayed afloat. Number 43. The headline of the first edition of the London Daily Mail on April 16, 1912 was, "Titanic sunk, no lives lost." Tragically, this couldn't have been further from the truth, with the true loss being 1,514 souls. Number 44. The first person on the ship to see the iceberg was called Frederick Fleet. He described it as darker than the darkness. Number 45. Incredibly, the lookout on the ship was not equipped with binoculars. Number 46. The time from the lookout's first sighting of the iceberg to the impact with it was just 37 seconds. Number 47. At the time of the collision, a ship was spotted off the port side of the Titanic which, had it responded, could have saved the lives of many passengers. Sadly, it didn't, and has never been identified. It is thought to have been either the Californian or the Samson. Number 48. The ship's band played for 2 hours and 5 minutes while she went down. Much debate continues to this day as to what the last tune played was, with some saying it was "Nearer My God to Thee," whilst others claim it was "Song d'Automne." Number 49. As the ship was going down, the crew broadcast its position in an SOS message. The fact that the position that was signaled was incorrect hampered rescue efforts by the responding vessel. Number 50. Rhoda Abbott was the only female survivor to have been pulled from the water. She had jumped off the ship's deck with her 2 sons. Sadly, however, they did not survive. Chapter 6. On board. Number 51. Passengers, while those who held the best tickets, had access to an onboard gym, swimming pool, squash court, library, and Turkish baths, amongst other facilities. Number 52. The ship even had its own newspaper called the Atlantic Daily Bulletin. As well as the day's menu for each restaurant, it featured news, adverts, share prices, society gossip, and horse racing results. Number 53. Even the cheapest cabin on a cruise ship today would seem like luxury compared to someone traveling 3rd class on the Titanic. For instance, 700 people had to share just 2 bathtubs, one for men and one for women. Number 54. The last dinner served in the first-class restaurant before the ship sank featured an amazing 11 different courses. Number 55. The first-class smoking lounge was for men only, no women allowed. Number 56. However, no men were permitted in the women's reading and writing rooms. Number 57. If you wanted to send a wireless telegram from the ship, it would cost you 12 shillings and 6 pence for the first 10 words. then 9 pence per word thereafter. Number 58. This was made possible as the Marconi wireless radio had been invented just 10 years earlier. The Titanic carried a 5 kilowatt model, allowing it to transmit signals up to 500 miles away. Number 59. The ship had 4 electric elevators, 3 in first class, 1 in second, each which had their own full-time operating assistant. Number 60. Amateur photographers were welcome to use the ship's onboard fully equipped darkroom. Chapter 7. Interesting Facts. Number 61. When the ship was launched, its wake was so large that another nearby vessel was sucked into it, nearly causing a collision. Number 62. An American Civil War veteran by the name of Captain Edward G. Crosby ran a steamship company, but was often criticized for not putting enough lifeboats on his vessels for all of the passengers. He was one of the Titanic's passengers who tragically drowned, unable to find a space on a lifeboat. Number 63. Although the Titanic made its one and only voyage in 1912, a brand new Renault car was one item of the ship's cargo. Number 64. The Titanic's launch was in fact delayed by 6 weeks because her sister ship needed repairs in the same dry dock. Because of the delay, it meant the Titanic would sail at a time of year when it was more likely for icebergs to float into her path. Number 65. Edith Rosenbaum Russell retrieved her music box, which was in the shape of a pig, from her stateroom prior to getting into a lifeboat. She played the music box to help calm children on her boat, an event which became the subject of a children's book called Pig on the Titanic, a True Story. Number 66. Another book, Polar the Titanic Bear, was written by the mother of 7-year-old survivor Douglas Spedden after he was rescued still holding his stuffed toy. When the book was released publicly in 1994, it sold 250,000 copies. Number 67. The film Titanic has made more than 5 times the amount of money it cost to build the original ship, accounting for inflation. Number 68. One newspaper, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, wrongly and stupidly suggested that the women's suffragette movement would end after the tragedy, as equality would see the abolition of the women and children first lifeboat rule. Number 69. There were 7 million individual pieces of mail bound for America being carried by the ship. 5 mail clerks were employed to handle these, as well as run the sea post office on board. Number 70. 2 weeks after the tragedy, the father of one of the band, John Hume Law, received a bill from his employment agency for 5 shillings and 4 pennies for the cost of his son's uniform. Chapter 8. General Facts, Part 2. Number 71. One positive factor that came out of the tragedy was that the U.S. brought in a law that required all passenger vessels to carry sufficient lifeboats to accommodate every passenger and every member of the crew. Number 72. Amongst other cargo, the following items were lost when the ship went down: 5 grand pianos, 4 cases of opium, 1 marmalade machine owned by a lady called Edwina Trout, 50 cases of toothpaste, and a Blondel oil painting. Number 73. The captain's salary was £105 a month, whereas a stewardess was on a more meager £3 and 10 shillings per month. Number 74. The ship's official vessel number was 131428, and Liverpool was her port of registry. Number 75. The Titanic's radio call sign was MGY. Number 76. The ship's whistles were the largest ever made. Number 77. To put the ship's size into perspective, she was about as long as the Empire State Building is tall. Number 78. The Titanic featured electric lights and heaters in every room and sported more than 10,000 light bulbs. Number 79. The ship's chief baker reportedly helped a great number of people survive whilst he himself swam for 2 hours in the freezing water. He fortified himself by drinking whiskey, which is believed to have helped him stave off the cold. Number 80. Sadly, a Japanese man who survived the tragedy was called a coward in his own country for not dying with the other passengers. Chapter 9. Facts and Figures, Part 2. Number 81. It took 20 horses to pull the carriage carrying each of the ship's two 15-ton anchors. Number 82. The ship used 825 tons of coal every day. Number 83. 14,000 gallons of drinking water were used every day aboard the ship. Number 84. The first lifeboat launched carried just 28 people. It had a capacity of 64. Number 85. The ship received 6 warnings of icebergs before collision with one. Number 86. 70 years passed between the sinking of the ship and the discovery of its location. Number 87. 2 men were killed during the ship's construction. Number 88. The ship had 3 propellers, 2 outer ones each with 3 10-foot blades and a central one with 4 6-foot blades. Number 89. The ship had 159 furnaces, providing a total heating surface of 144,142 square feet. Number 90. 3 million rivets were used to hold the ship's hull together. Chapter 10. The Most Amazing Facts. Number 91. A doctor from Wisconsin by the name of William Edward Minahan had his fortune read shortly before stepping aboard the Titanic for her maiden voyage. The psychic told him that he would die aboard the vessel, and sadly he did. Number 92. If you look at a photo of the ship, you will see 4 funnels. Amazingly, only 3 were real funnels. The 4th just carried vents from the engine room and kitchens. The designers of the ship just thought it made her look much grander than she would with just 3 funnels. Number 93. You can read a novel by Morgan Robertson called The Wreck of the Titan, about a flagship unsinkable ocean liner, which collided with an iceberg and sank whilst it was attempting to cross the Atlantic in record time, leading to the deaths of more than half of the souls on board, many going down with the ship after discovering there were not enough lifeboats for all of the passengers. If you think this is in bad taste, you may be surprised to hear that it was written and published 14 years before the Titanic was launched. How strange is that? Number 94. To summon first-class passengers to dinner, a bugler would play a tune called The Roast Beef of Old England. Number 95. There were no jukeboxes back in 1912. However, if you were a first-class passenger, you would be given a book containing 352 different songs. You could request any one of these for the band to play, as each musician was required to know every single one of the songs. Number 96. The iceberg that the ship collided with was warmer than the waters the passengers fell into. The seawater wasn't frozen, however, because of its salt content. Number 97. According to some reports, the crew didn't fire the correct distress signals after the ship's collision with the iceberg. Instead, they released flares at random. The message sent by the rockets were supposed to say distress, but in fact it signaled, "I'm having navigation problems. Please stay clear." Number 98. Benjamin Guggenheim, one of the millionaires aboard the ship, put his mistress in a lifeboat, then went back to his cabin to change into evening wear to await his death as the ship sank. Number 99. It was only in 2007 that the body of a 2-year-old passenger was identified by his DNA as Sidney Leslie Goodwin. Number 100. An actress called Dorothy Gibson survived the wreck, and 4 weeks later starred in a silent film called Saved from the Titanic. She wore the same clothes in which she had been rescued. And finally, number 101. Whereas many ships sink due to terrible conditions, the Titanic actually sank because conditions were too good. Unexpectedly, for the time of year, the sea was flat calm. There were no waves, no wind, and no swell. As it was a dark, moonless night, the crew stood almost no chance of seeing the iceberg. Even if there had been the tiniest of waves, there would have been some phosphorescence from miniature organisms as these lapped around the base of the iceberg. If the conditions had not been this perfect for anything other than a moonless night, the lookout would have easily seen the iceberg in plenty of time. This has been 101 amazing facts about the Titanic, written by Jack Goldstein and Frankie Taylor. If you enjoyed listening, look out for other titles from the 101 Amazing Facts series. Or why not search for other books narrated by me, Kent Harris. Thanks for listening.